Hey, it helps to have the audio on whenever you're making videos. Hey, welcome back to the garage, everybody. Today we are doing methanol injection, and by doing, I mean we're adding a second nozzle into the existing setup that I have currently. I'm running the AEM V2 kit with the boost reference controller. It's great. I'm a huge proponent of methanol injection for a couple of reasons. The big ones being that it really is awesome at cooling the intake charge down, and it's also good for supplemental fuel. So whenever you're running a direct injection engine, it is very tight windows that you're dealing with on injection, and even like upping the injector size and high pressure fuel pump isn't that effective for getting you more fuel. So you can do that for a small percentage. You can do a cam upgrade that has a larger fuel lobe. Actually, it's not larger. It's kind of a misnomer. The fuel lobe, you have to relash it. We won't get into all that. But nonetheless, you can drive more fuel. They make cams out there that have up to, I think, 30%. In fact, I've got one sitting on the shelf that was spec'd out by Brian Tooley Racing that we will install one of these days somewhere down the road. But methanol injection gives you the ability to add supplemental fueling while also creating a safer environment, less chance of detonation. Literally, you can probably do away with intercoolers if you are injecting methanol, especially if it's boost reference. So mine comes on like literally around 1 PSI and then ramps up and it maxes out around, I want to say 7. We'll double check whenever we look at the controller where I've got it mounted in the glove box. It's nothing fancy. But I'm a huge proponent of AEM setup. I've ran other methanol setups back whenever I was doing them on Subarus. But recently I've basically gone whole hog and just completely switched over to AEM. I like their electronics. I like their kits. I think they're reasonably priced and they're very effective. So we are adding a second nozzle. As you can see, I've already drilled and tapped it on here into my intake tube. Kind of a nice tip is if you are trying to build one of these things up for drilling and tapping, even if you don't have the supplies for welding aluminum, you can take standard MIG wire and kind of do a splatter weld on there to get adhesion onto the intake tube, and then you can go back over it and build it up and smooth it out and then grind it down. So it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but hell, we don't really care about that. We just want effective. On top of that, I'm going to be throwing the filter into the mix. I bought this a year and a half ago or so, installed it, and it knocks the rate down enough that it requires a retune, and I never want to go through the retune process. But since we're going to have to retune anyways for the additional nozzle, we're going to go ahead and throw this back in. I think it's a great idea to run a filter. On top of it, I have the fail-safe gauge on there. It maxes out at 1,000 cc rate. So it will only be monitoring one of the two injectors. But the cool thing about it is if something like the pump fails anyways, we're going to be able to see because that one will die. We're just not going to... Apparently the washing machine's dumping or something. Sorry about all the noise in the background. But that one will die. We will see the change. We can set up the fail-safe. Technically, you can run like a solenoid off of it that you could tie into like a... your blow-off valve or something like that that would cause it to go open under boost and maybe mitigate any damage. That's just something for a different day. But this kit that we're installing right now is around 65, 70 bucks. I'll put links to all this stuff below if you're looking for methanol kits. And it comes with the nozzle and 3 rates, the 250, the 500, and the 1,000. So we're doing the 500 for now. If we determine that we need more fuel whenever we start doing the Twincharged project, we will step it up to the 1,000. Then it comes with some additional hose and just a little tee, the press fitting tee. So everything that you need. The methanol kit itself, I want to say runs around 500 bucks, whether or not you need a tank. And we'll look at my setup over there. It's super simple. You know, it's anybody can do this. And honestly, for a forced induction car, this is one of the best bangs for your buck kind of mods. But hey, stick around. Let me show you something real quick. This is the intake charge box that I've started working on. There's going to be a video for this here soon, but this will be connected to the supercharger, and then in the side the turbocharger will push air in there. And it gives me the option I can put something down in here to kind of maybe some grating or something. That way, if the turbo pukes its guts out, the supercharger won't huff it up. But it'll kind of look. I think it'll look cool whenever it's all said and done. So keep your eyes out for that video soon. And while I'm thinking about it, let's talk about methanol. I run -20 windshield washer fluid. I highly suggest buying a couple cases of this and sticking to the same brand. I run O'Reilly's. No reason other than whenever I started doing this, there was no O'Reilly's down the road from me. I went in and said, hey, can I buy cases of this? I think it was maybe 6 bottles to a case or something. They were saying, yeah, you know, they're more than happy to sell you straight cases. But the idea being is sticking to one brand. Hopefully the blend is consistent. This is probably about 30% methanol, which is a good blend. But as I said, try and buy in bulk so you have plenty of rounds, and then just pay attention whenever you are switching up. If you have a situation where you're kind of stuck and you have to buy, for one, it has to be the blue stuff. That's always going to be your methanol-based one, and it has to be the -20 mixture. Don't run the purple crap. Don't run anything with the bug removal stuff in it. You know, the detergents, that stuff is not good for it. You know, so, and I always keep a bottle or two in the truck. That way, if I get stuck, you know, I've got some with me. But it's the consistency, since we have to tune for this stuff, the more consistent you can be on your fluids, the better you are. So I've bought 2 cases. I don't drive my truck that often. It's lasted me about 2 years, just to give you an idea. And I've got another year or 2 worth on me right now. So if you're daily driving this and you're doing methanol injection, a good word of advice is to tune your fuel to the max. Say you can get up to 5 psi on your existing fuel system, tune up to that, and then start supplementing maybe from that point on, so you're not using as much methanol. I use a lot of methanol whenever I drive, but you know, as I said, it's always a good idea to try and use as much as your fuel system as possible. Now, granted, you don't want to hit 100% duty cycle, or you know, that 6 millisecond injection window if you don't have to. So dial that back a little bit, but still use as much of your stock fuel system, unless you're running into intake temp sensor issues. That's the other thing. If you're running one of the later generation GM cars, they have the IAT sensor built into the MAF, so you need to break that out, because you want to inject after the MAF, but before the throttle body generally. So you want to be probably within 6 inches to a foot away from the throttle body, but you want to have the IAT after the injection. That way it can pick up the change. Another heads up, this stuff will kill IAT sensors. They're about $5 a pop. So I always have 1 or 2 spares. That way, whenever I ruin one, but it's worth it, because you'll pick up horsepower. You can probably pick up 30 horsepower just off of methanol injection on a forced induction car. I don't know about an NA car, probably not that much, but on a methanol injected forced induced engine, 30 horsepower is reasonable, because you can run more timing with this stuff. I mean, it's just all in all, it is one of the cheapest bang for the buck mods that you can do on a car. So let's jump over and check out what I got going underneath the hood, and we'll install the duct in there and kind of get it ready so we can start doing some data logging. We'll do another video where I tune this all out. So, okay, I got some stuff out. I was building the air box yesterday and working on that, so I've got stuff kind of out of the way over here. But this is the section where I install my injection pipe. Boom, it's going to be just like that. You want these things pointed up. I mean, you can go, they say, I think it's about that range to that range. My tank is over here. My pump's just down here mounted in the spare battery tray. And this is the section of hose for the gauge. So we'll put the filter in downstream of the pump here, so we're pushing through the filter, and then we will tee off after the filter. And then the one for the 1000 cc, which I need to double check, which is this one, will have the gauge. Let's go ahead and jam this thing in here if we can. Yeah. Turn that up just a little bit. Should be all right there. If you don't have one of these already, this is one of the best tools money can buy. It's great. I love the thing. There we go. Put that there. Make sure you use a sharp knife whenever you cut these hoses. You want them to be flush cut. You want everything as smooth as humanly possible. Let's see here. This. Cool thing is you just push in on these fittings and they come undone. We'll throw the T on there. And then filter. Make sure you're paying attention to the flow. There is a flow direction on these things. into the back side of that. And we'll hook that down into the pump outlet. Okay. And then let me grab a knife. Okay. Outlet of the filter. We'll go into the T. And then we need to cut a section of hose. Let's go about that long. Boom! Man, that's easy. I like easy though. Okay, hopefully you can kind of see things a little bit better down in there. Here's our filter. There's our pump, as I said. We're kind of teed off downstream of our flow. Then we go into the sensor for flow for the 1000 cc unit, and then we got the 500 one added on. And then we go in through the firewall, and let's go check out the controller. Controller just down here in the glove box. It's got 2 dials, one for start. Looks like we're on at about 3 psi. Full pressure is about 7. So by 7 psi, it ramps up pretty quick. I'm going to dial that up just a little bit so it doesn't ramp quite as hard. And we're going to start about 2. And then you've got a test button which will flow, and we're going to do that now. Let's go ahead and this thing will probably run rich enough to kill the truck. It's going to get loud. Okay, we're going to test flow it. You'll probably hear whenever it starts flowing in. Oh, blew the hose off. Okay, I blew a hose off. I cut a longer section of hose so there wasn't quite as much tension on that one. It was on the original hose. It was pulled a little tight after I added everything in there. But let's try this again. We're going to fire the truck up. We're going to inject it. That's how we check for leaks on this setup. So let's go ahead and shoot some methanol into the intake. Oh yeah. You hear it? Let the idle settle back out and then we'll hit it again. So to give you an idea, we're running 1.04 lambda at idle. Right now, whenever we start injecting, it drops all the way down to about 0.83. Nice. Oh, hey, we got the 0.80, so yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Woo! Shut that off before I start getting high. Okay, that pretty much sums it up. Pretty straightforward. Man, I've said everything about it. You know, this thing is such a great mod. This should give us the additional fuel to cover the E85 and make sure we're running safe whenever we get into twin charging. So stick around if you haven't already subscribed. Click the link below. As said, I'm working on the intake. I've got the parts coming. I think I've got almost everything I need on the way, short of the oil filter sandwich adapter for getting the oil for the turbo. We're going to have to drop the pan down, weld a bung on. So there's going to be videos coming out in the next couple weeks covering all of that. So you're not going to want to miss it. Hopefully within a couple weeks we'll be firing this thing up with the turbo and a supercharger. It's going to be awesome. So thanks for sticking around, watching this video. Thanks for all the comments, the likes that you guys, man, I got the greatest fans out there. I got the greatest followers. You guys are awesome. So stick around. As I said, there's more to come. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Whew!